I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and today's question comes from Mr. Foster, who wants to know what my thoughts are on my old friend Robert E. Howard. Now, many of these thoughts are already widely known, from the memorial I wrote for him to the fact that our private correspondence has become rather public, which is a strange feeling, I must confess. But if I'm to really get to the heart of this question, you must understand our writing styles and the difference between them, and luckily there is an artifact which will aid in this. Back in 1935, Robert and I participated in a collaborative story writing project, the Challenge from Beyond. We and several other writers got together and took turns writing a story, with one author picking up where the other left off. And it just so happened that Robert had the section right after mine. And I think, if you'll indulge me, that in the reading of this work, you will see a juxtaposition which will explain more than anything I could try to say. Now, I do not pretend to have the weight and gravitas to read Robert's works and give them justice, and so I tried to find a performer to assist me. However, there was only one other person in the house, and against my better judgment, I have agreed to allow him to participate. And so, here is the Challenge from Beyond. He seemed to be in a room of considerable extent, of medium height, but with a large proportionate area. On every side, and he could apparently see all four sides at once, were high, narrowish slits, which seemed to serve as combined doors and windows. There were singular low tables or pedestals, but no furniture of normal nature and proportions. Through the slits streamed floods of sapphire light, and beyond them could be mistily seen the sides and roofs of fantastic buildings like clustered cubes. On the walls, in the vertical panels between the slits, were strange markings of an oddly disquieting character. It was some time before Campbell understood why they disturbed him so. Then he saw that they were, in repeated instances, precisely like some of the hieroglyphs on the crystal cube's disk. Quick aside, you must understand, the protagonist has had his conscious mind transported to an alien planet. The actual nightmare element, though, was something more than this. It began with the living thing, which presently entered through one of the slits, advancing deliberately toward him and bearing a metal box of bizarre proportions and glassy mirror-like surfaces. For this thing was nothing human, nothing of Earth. Nothing even of man's myths and dreams. It was a gigantic, pale grey worm or centipede, as large around as a man and twice as long, with a disc-like, apparently eyeless, cilia-fringed head bearing a purple central orifice. It glided on its rear pair of legs, and with its forepart raised vertically, the legs, or at least 2 pairs of them, serving as arms. Along its spinal ridge was a curious purple comb, and a fan-shaped tail of some grey membrane ended its grotesque bulk. There was a ring of flexible red spikes around its neck, and from the twistings of these came clicking, twanging sounds in measured, deliberate rhythms. Here indeed was outre nightmare at its height, capricious fantasy at its apex, but even this vision of delirium was not what caused George Campbell to lapse a third time into unconsciousness. It took one more thing, one final unbearable touch. To do that, as the nameless worm advanced with its glistening box, the reclining man caught in the mirror-like surface a glimpse of what should have been his own body, yet horribly verifying his disordered and unfamiliar sensations, it was not his own body at all that he saw reflected in the burnished metal. It was, instead, the loathsome pale grey bulk of one of the great centipedes. Whenever you're ready. Well, thank you. From that final lap of senselessness, he emerged with a full understanding of his situation. His mind was imprisoned in the body of a frightful native of an alien planet, while somewhere on the other side of the universe, his own body was housing the monster's personality. He fought down an unreasoning horror. Judged from a cosmic standpoint, why should his metamorphosis horrify him? Life and consciousness were the only realities in the universe. Form was unimportant. His present body was hideous only according to terrestrial standards. Fear and revulsion were drowned in the excitement of titanic adventure. What was his former body but a cloak, eventually to be cast off at death anyway? He had no sentimental illusions about the life from which he had been exiled. What had it ever given him save toil, poverty, continual frustrations, and repression? If this life before him offered no more, at least it offered no less. Intuition told him it offered more, much more. With the honesty possible only when life is stripped to its naked fundamentals, he realized that he remembered with pleasure only the physical delights of his former life. But he had long ago exhausted all the physical possibilities contained in that earthly body. Earth held no new thrills, but in the possession of this new, alien body, he felt promises of strange, exotic joys. A lawless exultation rose in him. He was a man without a world, free of all conventions or inhibitions of Earth or of this strange planet. Free of every artificial restraint in the universe. He was a god! With grim amusement, he thought of his body moving in Earth's business and society, while all the while an alien monster staring out of the windows that were George Campbell's eyes on people who would flee if they knew. Let him walk the earth, slaying and destroying as he would. Earth and its races no longer had any meaning to George Campbell. There he had been one of a billion non-entities fixed and placed by a mountainous accumulation of conventions, laws, and manners, doomed to live and die in this sordid niche. But in one blind bound, he had soared above the commonplace. This was not death, but rebirth. The birth of a full-grown mentality with a newfound freedom that made little of physical captivity on Yekub. Oh, I like this guy. Focus. Blah, 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 where are we? Campbell snatched the pointed shard and struck, ripping savagely upward. Yook reared and toppled, his entrails spilling on the floor. In an instant, Campbell was streaking for a door. His speed was amazing, exhilarating, first fulfillment of the promise of novel physical sensations. I hope that answers your questions. As always, I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft.
And I'm PH.
Thank you.